down and join the show. Welcome to NBNR Live. And here we go.
It's no block, no rock.
Go Big Red. Parker, say it. Say go Big Red. Come on.
Big Red.
Hey, oh, yeah. Hey. Indeed. No block, no rock. Season 5, episode 19.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Coming at you from the NBNR studio in Omaha, Nebraska. Seeing as one of our main sponsors is Nebraska Brewing Company, I myself am drinking a Pilsner. Are you proud of me, Connor?
I feel like you only do it because you know you get to go first and you're stealing my thunder.
Are you proud of me, Connor?
I am a little proud.
Well, and like you only have 6 of them in there, and if he drinks them, then
I
you
know.
have less. So,
yeah, I'll just bring more next week. Oh no!
and you're welcome for reminding you.
Thank you. That was very nice of you.
Yeah.
So-
Mike reminded me that the fridge was out of Pilsner today.
So not only is it good, but in the future, it means less for you. Mike, what you got?
Today I'm drinking the Ale Storm. I did start my night off with EOS Hefeweizen, which is the best beer at Nebraska Brewing Company. Ale Storm. Don't know, it just sounded good. It's
okay.
brewed for the Supernovas.
Not the Supernovas.
Not the Supernovas.
Not the Supernovas.
Not
That's
yet.
not
no.
us.
No, that's definitely not us. No, it's brewed for the Storm Chasers, which is the AAA affiliate of my favorite baseball team, the Kansas City Royals. So
I
there
might
you go.
remind you, league champion Storm Chasers.
There it is. Stir it up.
League champion Storm Chasers.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, you said it sounded good. Well, what's the verdict?
Well, I drink this beer regularly. It's fantastic every time.
It's not a bad batch.
No, it's not.
Is there such a thing as a bad batch at NBC?
No, not a chance. Parker, I mean, you're from Omaha. Did you ever go to any Storm Chaser games?
Oh, grew up going to Storm Chaser games all the time.
You stir up the storm a litlittle bit.
Yeah, shoot, I can remember the Rosenblatt days back when they were the Omaha Royals.
Those were fun.
Yeah.
And the Golden Spikes.
Golden Spikes.
Yeah.
Those were sick.
Yeah, spent many a summer afternoon out at Werner Park.
Yeah.
13, 14, 15-year-old me. That was a while ago now.
So when we were
That was
kids,
back when Salvador Perez was coming up.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
you,
making me feel old.
you saw the good days then of the Storm Chasers, which I guess they're good again. Growing up, Connor and I and his cousin Jake, we would go. His aunt, who is Jake's mom, did concessions, and we would just sneak in with her, and then we would just go sit wherever we wanted during those games. So it was pretty fun. In our childhood, they'd just throw us baseballs and stuff, and we get them signed by random minor league guys that did nothing.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Has the statute of limitations passed for you to just confess crimes on air?
I don't know if it was a
Are
crime.
we good?
I was just a child laborer that was working concessions in the
Yeah.
stands,
Yeah.
sitting in seats that
Mike's,
weren't mine.
Mike saying we're gonna get dinged, man, on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Child labor.
God, the algorithm's gonna get all screwed
Go
up.
ahead, Connor. What do you got?
Why did you even ask? We already talked about this. You reminded me we're at a Pilsner. It is back. I didn't drink it. I had one last week. I do have more in the fridge today, so I am drinking the Pilsner. It is the best beer NBC makes, Mike.
Not true.
Yeah. We all have different
Fight.
opinions.
Fight.
They're all great.
Fight.
They're all great.
Well, and Parker doesn't have a beer, but his
I
dad
don't.
is drinking. His dad, Bob, is drinking Gimme S'mores, which
Yeah.
is also a fantastic beer, especially in this season.
Yeah. You guys can't see Bob right now, but he is having a beer with us. So,
Yeah.
He's
I'm
on
bad for
camera
product
today.
placement. I'm the only one over here without a beer.
That's
So,
okay.
That's okay.
Apologies.
We have plenty of guests that are like, I'm good. That's why we have the water in the fridge. So,
Yeah, I got a water.
Is the water good at least?
yeah. How's Casey's water?
I don't think Casey's is paying you for product placement.
they are
but,
not.
It's a pretty solid bottle of spring water.
There it is.
It's from the stream that's right out the door here.
Yeah.
So
KB, you want to? I know you're drinking the spring water as well.
I'm also drinking the spring water. So I won't talk about my beverage, but what I will talk about is the Hurrdat Sports Bar pizza we just had, the Big Pig and the buffalo chicken pizza. Excellent as always. And then I'll also talk about Underdog Fantasy fantasies. It's, I put in a lineup and we'll see how it goes. I will say your boy was down to like $25 a couple episodes ago. and I hit a little 135 piece last night. So I'm way back. We're so back. So now I've got plenty of funds to work with, and we're good to go. But you guys can cash in on up to $1,000 in bonus cash by using the code NBNR. If you guys sign up for an account, it helps us out, and you get to play around with some free money. So I would highly recommend.
Absolutely.
So I want to touch on my favorite segment every week. Mike,
I have not placed a bet in 2 weeks.
Oh, so we're still at what, 36 cents? Huh?
We're still at 36 cents.
I'm going to keep checking because I really want to know where that 36 cents goes.
BA did throw money in the YouTube chat to give me money to put bets in, but I have not taken that yet.
All right. Well, hey, we're going 36 cents to $1 million.
Yeah, that's it. Make sure you guys use the promo code NBNR. Get over $1,000 in bonus bets and support the pod. So
Right on.
all right,
Okay.
carry on.
Hey, Nebraska Brewing Company, world class.
In every glass.
All right. Now, this guy sitting to my left here, his name is Parker Thune. He covers Oklahoma football, recruiting, and other relevant news. I just got to do a little plug here. I'm wearing my Festivus ugly Christmas sweater. And I figure this would be a good question. It's like an icebreaker, right? We love icebreakers, don't we? Like you go to work and it's like one of those days where the boss is like, let's have an icebreaker. And, oh my gosh. Anyway, Connor, why is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
It's not in any way. I've had
Terrible take.
I've had this argument about 5 or 6 times this week already.
Yeah.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It's in fact a Harry Potter movie.
Okay, now you're just.
Oh no, hear me out. John McClane spends the entire movie in a tower hiding from Alan Rickman.
Okay.
Does that not sound like Harry Potter?
Okay.
Sure.
How do you even dispute that one? I mean, gosh, you got me there.
I did ask ChatGPT if Die Hard was a Christmas movie.
Okay.
And it said the arguments for it being a Christmas movie would be setting and timing, Christmas themes, Christmas music, holiday spirit,
Okay.
and cultural impact. And then here's the arguments against it. It's an action movie, tone and content, the lack of direct Christmas message. So
Wrong.
It's a fun conversation.
For any listeners that is not aware, there is not a single person in the United States that uses AI more than Mike.
That's right.
Delaware. I've never seen.
Well, you don't know why? I've never seen Die Hard, so I had to ask.
Okay, I will tell you, it's a fantastic movie. You should watch it.
Should I wear my Santa hat while I'm watching it?
You can. It's just not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, so that's why I used ChatGPT, because I was like, I still have not seen this movie. I've heard the debate my whole life, I feel like, but I've never actually seen the movie.
Well,
so.
Parker, do you die on any hill with this argument?
So I'm with Mike. I've never seen Die Hard either.
There
So,
it is. What a guy.
Look at that.
Mm.
Split down the middle here. No
It's
majority.
legit. Go on.
I can't really render a verdict there.
Okay.
So
It's fine.
wish I had a hot take for you. I did not.
I mean, ChatGPT kind of just summed it up for me. Thanks, AI.
It went both ways, though. It gave
arguments.
no clear answer.
KB, have you seen Die Hard?
Actually, my wife and I just tried to watch it for the first time like 2 weeks ago. We tried. I watched like 15 minutes of it, and I was like, I can't do it.
Okay.
I can't do it.
There it is. So, Jared, this totally flopped. But let me tell you something.
Oh my God.
There was another thing on the agenda where it's, hey, let's list our actual favorite Christmas movies.
Go on. You start.
Well, I can start.
Yeah.
My favorite Christmas movie is Jingle All the Way.
See, and that's
That's a
one.
good one.
That's one I had on here. I'm like, that renders a rewatch for me because it's
Yeah.
been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I remember liking it, and I wouldn't put it as my top. But it's one of those. It's like a guilty-ish pleasure kind of thing, right?
I got a Turbo Man as a kid. That movie came out when I was a kid, and my parents actually were the parents that were searching the city for a Turbo Man doll.
Yeah.
So I got the Turbo Man when I was a kid.
Is
So-
your dad the Arnold?
My dad is not the Arnold.
So Jingle All the Way, huh?
Yeah.
I was expecting you to just say Elf.
No,
Oh no.
it's fine.
Okay.
Elf
But
is a
no.
fantastic movie,
A
but it's not my
pleasant-
number one.
A pleasant surprise for Mike Delaware. Thank you for that.
Didn't need AI for it.
Connor.
Is it to
Oh,
me?
yeah.
Oh, this was I had to think about it because Elf was near the top. Elf is a great movie. Anybody
Sure.
who wants to dog it is wrong. But number one is it's the Grinch. It's the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas. There's nothing better.
That is
I quote that daily.
You're
throughout the
an
holiday
idiot.
season. Yeah. I quote it daily throughout the holiday season.
That's good.
KB. What you got?
I actually was going to say like 1A would probably be Home Alone, and like 1B would be Jim Carrey's Grinch.
Okay.
Like both are just every year. It's like you have to watch those movies at some point.
I agree.
Parker, what do you think?
So Home Alone is a good one if I'm in a bit of a lighter mood, right? Want something that's going to make me laugh. If I want to feel the Christmas spirit a little bit more, there are two for me.
Okay.
One is It's a Wonderful Life. I
Okay.
mean, timeless, right? Christmas classic. I think pound for pound, that's the best Christmas movie. And then the other one I really like is the George C. Scott version of A Christmas Carol.
Okay.
George C. Scott? I like
Two
it.
Absolute classics.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, three, if you want to throw Home
I-
Alone
yeah,
in there.
I mean, you can't argue with any of those picks.
Okay, now Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Dude, these parents, can we talk about how bad those parents are?
They're pretty shitty.
Like,
How do you
as
do
a
it
parent, I'm
multiple
like,
times?
what are we doing? I can't let my kid go into the other room without me freaking out. And these parents leave the city in this.
I know, it's just
How did Home Alone 3 not feature CPS in some manner?
I just remember, like, I haven't seen Home Alone 2, I guess Home Alone 1 either, like, in a pretty long time, but like the sheer brutality that those guys go through.
Oh yeah.
It's like I just remember seeing like planks with nails go through the dude's head, and it's like, jeez, like they're not messing around, man.
That's good.
Macaulay Culkin's fucking shit up.
My favorite take about Home Alone is that at no point does Kevin not have the option to call the police. And it's like, no, he wasn't doing that. Like, he was hunting these people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
They should have called the police
it
on
wasn't
him.
because he had to. He was hunting these men.
Well, look, I'm gonna say A Christmas Story. I love A Christmas Story. So many classic scenes. Okay, I expected people to, especially in the chat. Oh, come on, that's basic. Meh. I'm a horror guy, so I'm gonna give a shout out to Black Christmas, 1974. None of you guys have seen that. It's okay.
Correct.
I'm just putting it
Nope.
out in the ether.
Fair.
Putting it out in the ether. Another one that I have. I mean, Bad Santa. I love Bad Santa.
Bad Santa's pretty
That's
funny.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Bad Santa's pretty funny.
I did watch a new movie that's out there with Jack Black called Dear Santa, and the kid writes a letter to Satan
Yeah.
because he's dyslexic.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
movie is surprisingly really good. I actually watched it for the second time yesterday.
Okay.
So pretty good. If you need a Christmas movie recommendation that's not just traditional Christmas Story or any of that, check out Dear Santa, not Dear Satan,
Dear
but
Sa-
pretty much Dear
Yeah,
Satan.
that
It's
came
pretty
out like this year, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a new movie. It's hilarious.
I've not seen it, but I've heard funny.
Anything from the chat? Anything cool or different?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Nope. No recommendations on the movies, at least. But I do just want to shout out National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, sure.
That's
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 I
a
don't know how
classic.
You
that
got to
one
throw it
didn't-
in there, and then
Sure.
Krampus.
Mm.
I've not
Terrible
seen
movie.
Krampus.
Terrible movie.
Well, like I said, I'm a horror guy, and I didn't say that.
Yeah,
It's fine. It's fine. I see
Fine.
the whatever.
it's fine.
Okay. So my sweatshirt, right? One of the main tenets of Festivus is the airing of grievances. And boy, oh boy, did we have some airing of grievances this weekend, guys?
Sure did.
After the college football playoff and some of these results that we saw, which admittedly, not the most entertaining. You know, you see some of those final scores and it's like, ooh, okay. And some of those ESPN guys, like Kirk Herbstreit, they got their marching orders. And he sure followed those, didn't he? So, Parker, you see some of these results, and
Yeah.
people are going to talk about the SEC bias, Oklahoma and the SEC. You know, we have a guy who's hopefully not totally biased here, but just what did you make of this whole mess of this commentary after these games?
I haven't covered the SEC for long enough to have developed an SEC bias.
Fair.
So let's just
There
get
you
that
go.
clear out the bat.
I like that.
You have to understand that all of this comes back to one thing. All of this discourse comes back to one thing, and it's about money for ESPN
Oh yeah.
and everybody that is associated with that brand, because they make more money off the college football playoff than ever before,
Mhm.
because there are more college football playoff games than ever before. And moreover, if you watch ESPN, if you sit down and watch ESPN for an hour or two at any given window during the day, daytime programming on ESPN has just become a bunch of hot takes and talk.
Yeah,
sure.
ESPN right now is unrecognizable if you compare it to ESPN from 2009, for instance.
Oh yeah.
It's like, and I'll be sitting there, and I do a radio show every day from 12 to 3. So we'll be sitting there in studio, and we have a TV mounted up in the corner that has ESPN programming. We're on one of the ESPN networks, be it the main ship, ESPN2, ESPN News, whatever. I could go the whole 3-hour show without seeing any sports highlights, but just seeing a bunch of talking heads.
Yeah.
And so it's all manufactured drama. And the reason they're manufacturing the drama is because it puts more money in their pockets. I guarantee you, these pundits, Kirk Herbstreit, Stephen A. Smith, whoever it may be that's talking college football on any given platform. Pat McAfee is kind of refreshing. I have a love-hate relationship with Pat McAfee. But in general, these people don't believe 75, 80% of the things they're saying. They're doing it to put more money in the collective pockets of ESPN.
Clicks.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So stirring up the debate that Kirk Herbstreit did after the Tennessee game.
Well, and what debate is there? Because I understand that, Kirk Herbstreit on several different platforms the last few days has gone out of his way to discuss his qualms with the process and with the 12-team play and the teams that made the field, the teams that didn't, whatever. My question is, if you were going to omit, and this is part of a broader take, but genuine question here to all three of you, if you were going to omit anybody from the 12-team playoff in favor of another team, who would it have been?
I literally, I was going to sit here and say, maybe this is a hot take, but every team that made the playoff should have made it.
Agreed.
Correct.
Yes, 100% agree.
And so you had the 12 most deserving teams. You had the 12 teams that should have made the playoff. I think most would agree. And now we want to use the results to disqualify the 9 through 12 seeds as if there was some other program out there. And Alabama, for instance. Alabama was more deserving than SMU. No, Alabama lost their chance to compete in the college football playoff when they went and got throttled by Oklahoma, when they lost to Vanderbilt in Nashville as the number 1 team in the country. And so my overall feeling on it is this. There are never going to be 12 teams in any given year that are capable of winning a national title. Most years, there are going to be 4 or 5. Some years, there might only be 2 or 3. Some years, I feel like this year might be one of them. We might have 6, even 7. But you're never going to have 12 teams that are capable of winning a national championship. And so when you get down to December and January and everybody's worked out the kinks, everybody's playing their best ball, you would expect that there's a degree of separation between the best teams in the country and the teams on that second tier, like SMU and Indiana and Tennessee.
Yeah.
Well, and so my big thing here is when we look at like the most vocal fan base and university so far, at least from what I've seen, has been Alabama. Talking about, we know we're 9-3, but we feel like even though maybe we weren't the most deserving, we're one of the better teams and we should have been put in. And my question that I have asked and still not got a good answer to is, where do we draw the line? If you're 8-4 and you feel like you're a best team, do we still entertain that conversation? 7-5. Nebraska was 6-6 this year, and they only lost to Ohio State by 4.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw what they did to
Right.
Tennessee.
Well, I'll tell you where you draw the line on Alabama, November 23rd.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because I covered an entire season of Oklahoma football. I've covered Oklahoma football for some time now. The 2024 Oklahoma Sooners are the worst Sooners that I've ever covered. That team was profoundly lucky to make a bowl game.
Like we're
And
talking
that team took Alabama behind the woodshed. It was never close.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to make the 12-team playoff, if you wanted to have a case more than just we feel like we're good enough, it disappeared on November 23rd. Vanished.
I agree.
Not since John Blake was the head coach at OU did we see a more brutal Oklahoma team. Like it's been Stoops had it rolling for a good while. They've had a good thing going. And so this year's version of OU, pretty painful. And so you can't go out there, Bama. Jeez, and I get you're on the road, but come on.
Well, and like
What are we doing?
a lot of these talking heads, their big thing is you might as well just not play regular season games at all. You might as well just find the 12 most talented teams and just say, all right, you guys are in the playoff. Doesn't matter how many games you win or lose. You have the best recruiting classes. You got a 5-star rating from Parker. You got a Heisman vote from Parker. Maybe that's what we have to do. We have to keep those in consideration instead of actually the games and the things we actually see where there's actual results that are taken.
Instead of a committee, you saw some of those 60 and 70 somethings in that room watching those games with no food or drink, which is weird.
which is insane.
Yeah.
But no,
psychopaths.
yeah. Gosh, maybe instead of a committee, we go to rivals.com and who are the top 12 recruiting rankings? Who's the top 12? Who got the most 5 stars? Those teams go in. There you go.
I think the 12-team playoff is too large. That's my take. But the one refreshing aspect of the 12-team playoff is that it allows us to see with our eyes all of the things that we already thought in general, which is everybody thought, okay, Indiana, that 11-1 is probably a little bit inflated, and they're not on the same level as a team like Ohio State or a team like Penn State. They're in their same conference. Well, guess what? Now you get to see Indiana go to Notre Dame. They go to South Bend. They get to play against a team that's a legit national championship contender. And you get to see, oh, yes, they're not capable of holding their own.
Correct.
So no longer do we have to have a committee doing the guesswork for us. We can see the results with our own eyes.
Yeah, we don't have to sit here and go, okay, leading into the Indiana Notre Dame game, like let's just say Indiana was left out. You're having the debate, oh gosh, it was their fairy tale season, a season like they've never had before. Gosh, it's too bad that we left a team like that out, They should have been given a chance.
I mean, that's the exact same conversation between like 2018 UCF and Scott Frost. Oh, they're undefeated. Like, give them a chance. Let us see what would happen.
Florida
They go to
State
their bowl
last year.
game and they beat Auburn. It's like, okay, what would have happened if you put them in the playoff that year? Like, that is the whole conversation. And like, to your point, Parker, it's like, yeah, the most deserving teams. Well, the most deserving teams are generally the ones that beat everybody on their schedule.
Consider, let's rewind to the 2008 season. That was actually a season in which Oklahoma played for the national title. It was OU Florida. Florida ended up winning that title game 24-14. But there was a very deserving and undefeated Utah team that did not get the opportunity to play for a national championship because of the old BCS system. Understandably, they were in the Mountain West at the time.
Yeah.
They go into the Sugar Bowl and beat the brakes off Alabama. And to this day, I believe that Utah team could have played and hung with Florida and Alabama, but that's always going to be a what if.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now we get to see it.
So I have a very hot take, especially with the 12-team playoff. Again, we talk about those 9 through 12 seeds. I don't believe that it is possible in the current college football landscape for a Cinderella team to exist. I just don't see it happening. Do those teams, if we're at a 12-team format, deserve to be there? Absolutely. I thought Indiana did deserve to be there, and they only lost to Notre Dame by 10. Like Notre Dame,
but yes.
Notre Dame also, in my opinion, a little fraudulent. I don't think they're as good as people think they are. However, I don't think there is a way in a 12-team playoff that you're ever going to see a Cinderella story in that playoff system.
I mean, we'll find out what happens to Boise State. I think there's your Cinderella story. If Boise State, who although got a first-round bye, if they go in and take care of business, there's your G5 teams actually showing up and delivering.
See, the issue, though, is that Boise State, in order to win a national championship, has to win 3 games against 3 of the best teams in the country.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Alabama. Let's take the example of Alabama and Vanderbilt. 9 out of 10 times, Alabama's going to beat Vanderbilt.
Oh, yeah.
But that one just so happened to be the game that they played at the beginning of October. And so Boise State could get lucky and knock off one of those teams. What are the odds they're going to beat all 3?
I don't know.
I agree with you, Connor.
Yeah.
100%.
I just don't see a Cinderella coming out of the system.
And I guess, like you said, in your opinion, that 12 was too much. And like, I'm not going to necessarily disagree. I don't really know what to think right now. College football is a mess. It's outside of the games themselves. It's I don't know how you do it for a living, for God's sake. I don't know how you do it.
I don't either sometimes.
But like, I see a 3-loss Bama team. And I think to myself, well, this is kind of the product of the portal, where you're seeing more and more parity. You're going to see more and more teams that are pretty talented, like Alabama, have 3 losses. And so the talent is just being more spread out. And so I think over the course of time, if the portal kind of stays the way it is, with how free-flowing and people can just move wherever they want, I think over the course of time, you're going to see more and more even teams. Are we gonna even see like an undefeated team ever again? Like, I don't even know about that.
Oregon.
I mean, ever again.
You have a chance to see Oregon right now.
I'm just
It's still on the board.
over the course of time.
Yeah.
Like I think it'll be.
Are you talking eternity?
I think it'll be more and more difficult and rare to see undefeated teams, just because talent is being more spread out.
Yeah. Well, and I
So-
mean, like on the topic of like the Cinderella stories, it's like I just want to see them have a chance.
I
Like,
agree.
If they were able to do it to get to the point where they deserved to be in the playoffs, I would just like to see them at least get that for their program.
And Kyle, guess what? One of these years, it will happen. One of these teams will win, and it'll be one of those like, 9 out of 10 times that other teams should win, but this is the one time they don't. And so it's going to happen one of these years.
But so, again, like Parker just said, like for these Cinderella stories to happen, where you're saying 9 out of 10, they're not supposed to win this game. They have to win 3 games in a row where they've got a 1 in 10 chance.
Well, I think like where Jared's going is you're going to start seeing less and less Cinderellas, where the talent and the money and kind of the skill level is just going to start like hopefully evening out a little bit amongst the masses, because then your Cinderella story in like Boise State, maybe they're not, maybe they are just legit. They're at the same level as it's somebody that you would expect to go to the national championship.
I mean, Parker, you said that there's like legitimately 3-4 teams that will win the Natty, but I think over the course of, we'll just say a decade, I think that number will go up to like 6 and maybe 7. Like it could be a toss up,
and it varies year to year.
Yeah,
and a lot of that has to do these days with portal movement and talent acquisition, and whether a team like Texas Tech right now is willing to just go throw insane money to try and put together the best team that they've ever had for 1 year.
Right.
Shout out to Cody Campbell and Double Eagle Energy, because they're making big money moves down there. I love it. But when it comes down to it, Jared, here's what I think. For the next decade, at the end of it all, the team that's going to be hoisting the trophy is a college football brand that you are used to seeing hoist the trophy.
Sure.
It's going to be a Georgia. It's going to be an Ohio State. It's going to be.
What about Oregon, though? Oregon's never hosted.
And Oregon is the team that's going to enter that mix.
Okay.
Oregon, and I know people don't. In most people's minds, they're not a program that is in that second tier of college football as a program that has never been able to climb the mountain, if you will, but they're poised to do it here before long because they have infinite money via Uncle Phil.
Yeah, Phil Knight.
They have a head coach in Dan Lanning who is phenomenal. I mean, he is the perfect guy for that job. And the talent is just going to stack on top of itself such that Oregon's going to be undeniable at some point. If they don't get it done this year, they will get it done sometime in the future. That's the team that's going to break through if anyone does over the next decade.
Well, and so again, I agree 100%. The one thing that we talk about a lot is success breeds success, right?
Yeah.
If you're successful this year, you're going to have good recruits next year. You're going to get that done. But if you're successful as a program, your donors are more willing to write larger checks.
And if you're not successful,
that money starts to get a little bit harder.
Yes, the strings begin to tighten.
Yeah. So I do understand that there will be more parity through the transfer portal, like Jared, you were saying. I get that. But I think if you are not getting successful in probably the next 4 to 5 years, it's going to become even harder to hit that upper echelon than we saw in the pre-NIL era.
Yeah. NIL transfer portal is it's interesting, and I think we can probably transition to that because I think we do have a guy who covers recruiting, and you kind of live it and breathe it all the time.
Yeah.
This transfer portal thing. When are they going to have? When are contracts going to happen? When are we going to get to that point where they aren't just 1 year rentals? Is that in the future?
This will all get reined in, I imagine, within the next 2 years. Practically, what that looks like, I'm not exactly sure, but everyone right now behind the scenes is in agreement that, hey, this is a mess. This is a ticking time bomb. This cannot continue down the current path and be sustainable. We're going to have to implement some guardrails. We're going to have to implement rev sharing, and all of that will start coming to fruition, I think, in the next 2 years. And in my mind, the sooner the better, because it's absolute chaos. For instance, trying to cover the transfer portal right now, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible, because everybody has an agent. Whereas last year, maybe 30-40% of these kids that got in the transfer portal had an agent representing them. Everybody's got an agent this year.
And tampering is not a thing anymore, right?
No,
like you just call anybody.
Everybody tampers. Yeah. Everybody tampers.
Like I can't even.
Everybody back channels.
I can't even believe that. Like he's been sitting here for how long has he been sitting here? Like the past, we'll just say like 20 minutes. I don't know if you've looked at your phone yet. And I have to imagine you probably have how many messages. Like I can't imagine being you right now doing this job.
It's been a slow news day. I'm hoping it stays that way.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know. That might be another good thing. Like, do you hope for slow news days, or do you revel?
I
do you live in
absolutely
the
hope
chaos?
for no. I absolutely hope for slow news days.
Yeah.
Because 320, 330 days out of the year, the opposite of that, the polar opposite of that,
You're
the
right.
diametric opposite of a slow news day.
So those 30 days a year, you just like, all right, cool. Like, kick feet up.
Pretty much.
Go on podcasts.
This is one of those days, fortunately.
We love that. We're glad that you're here on a slow news day. Okay, so you're from Omaha,
That's correct.
right? And you're not a stranger to the fishbowl that is Nebraska.
No.
Okay. You say that 363 days of the year are pretty much heavy news days for Oklahoma sports. I mean, is it very similar? I guess covering Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma. Is it similar as it is in Nebraska? As it being kind of like a fishbowl, or does the Oklahoma States and the OKC Thunder and stuff kind of pull away some of that?
There are a lot of similarities between the state of Oklahoma and its relationship with its flagship university and the state of Nebraska and its relationship with its flagship university and football institution, for that matter. Oklahoma, in my experience, and I've lived there for close to 8 years now, it's very similar to Nebraska in general. You get a little bit more of that Southern influence, right? But especially when it comes to college football, there are a ton of parallels. Yes, there's a small section of Oklahoma State fans, much the same way that here in Omaha, for instance, you get that subset of Iowa fans, for instance, or
Gross.
yeah, Kansas State fans down in the southern part of the state. But 80 to 85% of the people in the state of Nebraska live, breathe, and bleed Nebraska football. And it's the exact same in the state of Oklahoma. So, yeah, I would imagine everything that my counterparts in the Nebraska market experience covering Nebraska football, they're the same things that I experience covering Oklahoma football. Everything that you guys experience following and talking about, discussing Nebraska football, all of it is happening in very similar circumstance down in Oklahoma.
So I want to talk about, if we're talking about a similar fishbowl effect.
Okay.
We will all tell you, and I think you probably understand it as well, that Nebraska's fan base is rabid.
Yes.
Crazy. They will go anywhere, no matter what time of year, no matter where the game is, they will be there.
New York City.
We'll tell you that they are an incredibly passionate fan base. And I'm going to speak for myself here. I won't speak for these guys, but at times the Nebraska fan base can be unreasonable.
That is true.
Would you say the same thing about the Sooner fan base?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's like, because we at Nebraska for the last 8 years, as I'm sure you know, has not made a bowl game until this year. We got the Pinstripe in New York.
Go, baby.
We did it.
Hey, man.
We did it, guys.
Freaking A.
And we still saw near the end of the season some people asking if Matt Rule was on a hot seat, which I find to be crazy. But I just didn't know if that was something that Oklahoma's experienced. Obviously, you have not been in the dumps like Nebraska has been for quite as long.
But Brett Venables' seat is there's probably people calling for his job.
Oh, at this point, absolutely. But for instance, to that point and to that observation, Connor, I'll take you back to September of 2022. Brent Venables is in his first year on the job. And at that time, the site that I run was partnered with the 24/7 network. And Oklahoma loses their home opener, or a home conference opener, to Kansas State, 41-34. Goes down to the wire. It's a one-possession game. They lose. Open up the message board on 24/7, and immediately, first thing I see is 5 threads that say, "Fire Brent Venables." Yeah, it's like, really? We're already doing this? But that's just how fans are. They make the world go round for people like us. So love them for it, hate them for it, but that's the way it is.
So seeing that reaction to, and that was the Adrian Martinez game.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember that?
That's right.
That was a solid K-State team.
Yeah.
They were Deuce Vaughn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you see that reaction, and look, it's year one. Of course, that's an overreaction. But 2025, is this the do or die in 2025 for Brent Venables, do you think?
It certainly feels that way. It feels like everybody on that staff is coaching for their job in 2025. And that's the way the overwhelming majority of the fans feel. That's the way the overwhelming majority of the media feels. And you talk to people within or tangentially connected to the program, they all kind of have the same sentiment. there's a world in which things aren't quite bad enough in 2025 that he gets another year in 2026 to turn things around. But the barometer that I kind of have, the rough barometer, is you got to win 8 games in 2025. If you don't win 8 games in 2025, at that point, I think you have to be receptive to what the fans want, right? Because you lose the fan base, you're done at that point. And when fans stop showing up to games, well, that drags the whole athletic department down in terms of revenue. And in this era in particular, you cannot fall behind in the revenue realm. And Oklahoma would have to pay a pretty penny to get out of Brent Venables' contract. So that's an issue in and of itself. But everybody right now is kind of bracing for 2025, hoping that the acquisition of John Mateer, the number 1 player in the transfer portal, former Washington State quarterback, is going to be enough to kind of stabilize things. They're also counting on the absurd rash of injuries that Oklahoma experienced in 2024 to not be replicated in 2025, which I think is a fair expectation. I mean, I don't know how much this registers on the radar for guys like you. Oklahoma had more injuries in 2024 than I've ever seen for any football team.
Do you think that was the transition to the SEC in the physicality, or is just
it was just
bad luck?
Yeah, and it was a variety of different things, right? One guy, tears a knee tendon on the practice field. Another one gets rolled up on. Another one just, he steps the wrong way, dislocates his ankle. It's bad luck. That's what it amounts to.
I mean, it was like the whole wide receiver room that went down, wasn't it? Plus some. Yeah.
By the end of the season, the top 6 wide receivers on Oklahoma's depth chart were all unavailable.
That's insane.
Yeah, you had like something like, I think it was just shy of 20, like major injuries on that roster by week 7 or 8.
Guys, Oklahoma's leading receiver in the year of our Lord 2024 had 324 receiving yards.
And he's your cornerback or something. I mean, I have to think that after 6 wide receivers go down, you're seeing dudes on that depth chart.
By game 8, they were starting a walk-on true freshman at wide receiver.
That's good.
Hey, Nebraska's done that without injuries before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need injuries to play our white walk-ons.
Nobody said white.
I will say to like this whole thing about Oklahoma. I've got a cousin. I've got a bunch of family that lives in Oklahoma City, and obviously big Sooner fans. And I told them after Lincoln left, and the outlook was they were going to the SEC. I said, I have watched this movie before. Nebraska did the exact same thing, almost identical. Only obviously Bo Pelini was able to work in the Big Ten for a bit. Yeah. But you lost a winning head coach, and you're getting ready to walk into a conference that is presumably better than what you're coming from. Good luck.
Ask him, Kyle. Is Oklahoma? Come on. How many times have you been asked this question, Parker?
Is Oklahoma the Nebraska of the SEC?
There it is.
There it is.
Are you going?
Too early to make that judgment.
I would agree.
And maybe that's not the answer that people want to hear. Maybe they want a hot take.
No,
too early to make that judgment. But
this is cope on your part. You don't want to cover a crappy team. Yeah. You don't want to cover a Nebraska team.
Yeah.
Cope.
Well, here's the context that you have to have for Oklahoma football. They won 10 games last season.
Right.
They won double-digit games. They were an 18-point Oklahoma State comeback in their regular season finale against BYU from going to the Big 12 championship game and rematching with Texas. So going into the season, nobody was under the impression that, this is going to be that Oklahoma's going to crash and burn in 2024. But you have that many injuries, just terrible circumstances all the way around. And were there things that they could have controlled that they did not, things that they could have done better that they did not? Absolutely. But I think the hope right now for everybody down there is that 2024 was an aberration for that football program. And the jump you saw from year 1 to year 2 under Venables is more indicative of where this program's headed. But they have more gaps to fill heading into 2025. Certainly. All the answers are not there just yet.
Well, and Jackson Arnold did not look good coming in last year. And then he played this year and did not look good. And then that was the rotation revolving door at quarterback too.
Yeah.
So I see why they spent a lot of money on their quarterback.
Yeah.
They did spend a lot of money on John Mateer. And you come to understand why if you watch his tape from this past season at Washington State. Gamer, man. Threat with his legs, obviously a threat with his arm. The release is a little wonky. It's a little low, and that turns some people off, and I get that. You know, that's going to be a concern. That's one thing that people are going to want to say, okay, can you get away with that in the SEC? But he led the FBS in total touchdowns with 44. Oklahoma hires his former offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, at the beginning of December. And at that point, everybody kind of realizes, okay, John Mateer is going to be a Sooner. Lo and behold, it comes to fruition. And now really the only question I have, guys, is Oklahoma's going to return 8 of 11 starters on the defensive side of the ball. So there won't be a ton of turnover there. The question is, do they have enough in the budget to go add the impact skill guys that you feel like a guy like John Mateer is going to need in order to help this program ascend to greatness once again in 25?
You know, the more and more you talk, it sounds like Oklahoma is the Nebraska of the SEC. That sounds exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're in a very similar circumstance.
Yes, you're in the position that can we get enough good players around our good quarterback? When you start asking that question, it's like, oh.
And you know what? That might just be the blanket question for every team that is now dealing with NIL. Can we just buy enough really good players?
Well, and consider for a moment what the term roster retention means here in 2024.
Nothing.
Roster retention was not a thing 5 years ago.
No.
But now the very first thing you have to do, regardless of where you coach, regardless of what your team is, the very first thing you have to do once your season ends is make sure that none of your scholarship guys, none of your 85, at least none of the 85 that you want to stick around, are talking behind the scenes with some other program via some agent to go take a deal somewhere else to go get paid.
Which they definitely are.
Yeah, you're not only recruiting through the portal, you're recruiting in your own locker room.
Yeah, you have to re-recruit your entire roster every single year.
Every year. Plus high school, plus JUCO, plus the transfer portal. I mean, it's just like, it's insane.
And this is why you see guys like Dave Clawson, formerly of Wake Forest, just decide, wake up one morning, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm out. I'm retiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to have to deal with this BS.
Yeah.
Nick Saban.
Which
there were
just
some
baffles me.
extenuating circumstances with Saban, but
it just baffles me about Bill Belichick. Why would he want to come? Why would he want to come deal with this?
Well, I think he had those lists of demands, and I have to assume one of them is, I will do no recruiting. You guys do that. I'm not going to do any recruiting. You guys do all that stuff.
Have you seen the details of Saban or Belichick's contract?
No.
He I think can leave before the start of the next NFL season and still get like a $7 million buyout.
Yep.
In case some NFL team comes knocking, which Indianapolis, if you're listening.
Okay, so we're talking about revolving door portal. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's the college football that we knew and loved is gone. And but we did get the portal takes and it gives.
It does.
From the Nebraska side of things, it took some guys from us, but we did gain a guy from Oklahoma. Can you tell us a little bit about Dasan?
Dasan McCullough.
I like Dasan McCullough a lot, man.
Yes, that means it's good for us.
Yep. He's the type of guy, and he wasn't as productive at Oklahoma as people probably imagined he would be. There's a variety of reasons for that. He was banged up for much of the 2024 campaign here as a junior. So you're going to look at the production over the 2 seasons he was at Oklahoma and think, okay, yeah, nice addition. Maybe not. I think he has the chance to be a great addition for Oklahoma's defense because he's a little bit of a unicorn. And once you see him out there moving around, you'll see what I mean. 6'5", 225 pounds. He primarily played Oklahoma's cheetah position, which is
kind of like a jack,
roughly akin to a nickel, actually. Yeah. But that was the position he was at for Oklahoma. Played quite a bit of inside linebacker as well. He took some snaps off the edge as a defensive end. So he can do a lot within the scheme. Heck, you could bounce him out to safety. He's fast enough to handle safety if he really needed to. So really versatile, really sizable chess piece. And he's also just really strong too, which when you have a guy that has size, speed, and strength on the defensive side of the ball, you got something you can work with, right? So he can take on tackles. He can take on guards. He's really strong in run support. His one shining moment at Oklahoma will always be his role in the 2023 goal line stand in the Red River Showdown that helped Oklahoma stave off Texas in that game. But yeah, I love Dasan McCullough. I think he has immense potential. I would love it if he had 2 years at Nebraska.
Yeah, nowadays he might.
Well, who knows?
Shoot,
who knows? Infinite eligibility seems like it's closer and closer, but that's the type of dude that I think by year 2 in a scheme like Nebraska's could be an all-conference type of dude, but I still think that potential exists even with him just being a 1-year rental.
So There it is.
Great success.
You mentioned he has the potential to play safety as well. So
Yeah.
I've been trying to do as much, tape watching as I can, as much reading I can about him. It's like 50-50 on sites that list him as a linebacker and as a safety. Did he have meaningful snaps at safety for Oklahoma?
He never played safety at Oklahoma. That wasn't what they brought him in to do. He played a lot of safety in high school. I believe that was his primary position in high school. He played all over the place. But yeah, legitimately one of the more versatile defenders that you will find nationwide. So there's a lot that Nebraska is going to be able to do with him.
And I'm assuming just based on the landscape that is college football now, Oklahoma just couldn't retain him, or what, is there a reason that he's leaving Oklahoma?
It was just kind of a scenario where I think it was best for both parties to part ways, because there was not really an ideal positional fit for him next year at Oklahoma. They had a guy that they figured was going to be graduating, that plays the cheetah spot, that is the starter at that cheetah spot, has really just become undeniable. He's a kid that played JUCO, so heck, Oklahoma may have him for 3 more years at this rate. But he, in game 4 this past season against Tennessee, dislocated his ankle, had to undergo surgery, missed the remainder of the season, and he was set to graduate at year's end. So now they bring him back. He's going to play that role. The Sooners are very, very strong at linebacker, as you would expect for a Brent Venables program. I mean, that's probably the most revered linebackers coach in the country. So McCullough was going to be a rotational guy in Oklahoma's defense, and it just kind of behooved him to seek out a destination where he might be able to see a lot more snaps than he probably was going to see next season at Oklahoma.
Gotcha. That's good news for Nebraska.
Because, yes, for as anemic an offensive team as Oklahoma was in 2024, that defense is really, really strong. So do not consider it a turnoff that Deshaun McCullough was only going to be a rotational guy at Oklahoma in 2025. He's a very good player.
One of the first things I do, and maybe this is not the most wise thing, is if Nebraska ever gets a transfer player or they get a new coach, one of the things that I do to start is I look at the reception from the fan base that they are coming from.
Dangerous game.
It is. But I've learned my Marcus Satterfield lesson. That's where it stems from.
Yep.
The South Carolina fans said,
Take it.
veterans, we hate that dude. It's like, okay, you're just bitter. Shut up. And it's like,
Got it.
you guys are right.
USC fans are coming to this same realization with Lincoln Riley, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you covered Oklahoma, so I could see why Lincoln Riley is at the top of your mind there. And I don't want to turn this into a Lincoln Riley bash fest, but I don't know. He's weird.
Yeah.
He's a weird guy.
He just doesn't believe in defense. I think that's like
You go from Lincoln Riley, offense, to Venables, defense. And so you are seeing that kind of identity kind of flip there at Oklahoma. And I think that's for the best for them long term.
Especially in the SEC.
Yeah. But Lincoln Riley, just a weird cat. Don't really know what to make of him.
Yeah, he's an interesting fellow.
Very
interesting fellow.
You got any stories?
Yeah.
How much time you have?
wow.
If it's a good enough story, we have enough time.
And we've got enough beer in
Okay.
the fridge.
I'll tell you a story. Here's a good one. He was very famously paranoid about anyone, anywhere, seeing any portion of his practice sessions. So Oklahoma's practice field, the way it's situated on campus, is right outside the stadium. And overlooking the stadium is this big multi-floor dormitory where all the athletes live. Most of the athletes live as freshmen. But you have general student population in there as well. And so you have these 3 big buildings across the street. And if you looked out from the 3rd floor, you could see the football team practicing. So that's a cool thing for any college student. You wake up in the morning, look out the window, and boom, the football team's out there getting ready for the weekend's game against Iowa State or whatever.
Yeah.
But he was so paranoid about anyone having any visual access to his practices that and I don't know how he did it, because I don't even think this was within his jurisdiction. He got university personnel to go up and frost all the windows that faced the practice field.
So you couldn't see anything
You
outside
could not
of it.
see anything out of those windows.
Wow.
He's like that Iowa State coaching staff is sending someone to Norman
Yes.
to record my practice. They're
They have
paying
an
for their
inside
tuition.
man on the 3rd floor of Headington Hall at Oklahoma. Just a random biology student. Hit him up on Twitter. Film practices for us. We'll pay it. No, but The other story is that when I was a student at OU, this was the fall of 2017. And I was part of a student newscast that was a half an hour every day. I think it aired at 4:30 on Monday through Friday. And so every single day, you know, with all the stuff that goes into a newscast, you got live shots and you got reporters out all over the place on campus. And so there was a spot on the journalism building, which is kind of, you know, you have the practice facility outside the stadium, and across one street is all the athletic dorms. And then around the corner, but still, I guess on the other side of the practice facility, you have the journalism building, which also is 3 floors. So you go up to the 3rd floor, you can look out, you can see the practice field. There was a famous incident in 2021 where there were a couple of student journalists that watched practice from the 3rd floor. Back when Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams were battling it out for QB1 to try and get a sense of who was taking more first team reps. Riley canceled all the media availability for the rest of the week after that story went public. But
Wow.
2017, I'm out there and I'm just an undergrad journalism student, right? Nobody of any consequence to anyone at that point. And I go out on assignment from my journalism professors. Hey, you're going to go out, you're going to go set up the live shot that we can just use as a cut scene as we're transitioning in and out of breaks. It's the easiest job on the entire news because you just go set up a camera, get a nice scenic shot of campus, and you just sit there until the newscast ends. Easiest job there is. And so I go up to the 3rd floor, which is where they told me to go, set up the camera. I have not had the camera on the tripod for more than 20 seconds before one of Riley's lackeys is shouting from the field down below, "That camera needs to go away. Take it away." And for a second there, I just played dumb. Like I wasn't really sure what to do. So I just kind of played dumb as if I couldn't hear him. And he goes, hey, you. Yeah, that camera, take it away right now. And so this was not a battle I was going to fight. I was like, listen, I'm just doing what I was told. So I packed up the camera. I walked inside. I told my professors, hey, the football program is not going to let us do the live shot from the 3rd floor. And there were quite a few heated emails exchanged between the athletic department and my journo professors. But that gives you some insight as to the man/machine that is Lincoln Riley. That was what he was.
I can just imagine, like, you set that you set the camera up. It's just like a shadow in the window, and Lincoln Riley is just like immediately looking up at the windows, and he's like,
well, and the camera's pointing the other direction too. Like it's not oriented anywhere near the practice field.
You know what, guys? You know who he looks like?
Connor
Kinda look like
Stallion.
Connor Stanley.
he kind of does.
Really?
Like if I
Have you ever
squint-
seen him and Connor Stallions in the same room? I don't think so.
If I squint real hard, I can see it.
Yeah. They both like to operate cameras.
Yeah.
In practice.
So I can maybe one of before he got hired at USC, he was looking at the practice facility and was just making sure there's no windows. Like he's just making sure he did some scouting, location scouting before he left. So he wouldn't have to run into that same issue at USC.
I mean, it's LA. It's like there's everybody knows everything in LA.
Jeez.
It's like the worst place to go if you want things under wraps.
I find it funny that in Norman, he was worried about cameras, and then he went to LA, the city known for cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what happens.
The literal
there.
city for cameras, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, just because we're going to start wrapping up here in a second. We've got about 6 minutes or so. We have the other Dave with a super chat of $4.99. Appreciate you.
Hey.
He says, love the podcast and would love your opinion. I'm heading to the bowl game. What section would you buy tickets in? 50-yard line is far removed. Awkward. And I think it's because it's a
Baseball stadium.
baseball stadium,
buy-
right?
buy
And
your
so like
tickets.
half the field is like in the outfield, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of a weird setup.
It's
Have you ever
really-
covered a game in a baseball stadium? Like
A football game in a baseball stadium? Never have.
Okay.
I would imagine because like isn't the way that they set up for the Pinstripe Bowl so that if you have 50-yard line tickets, you would basically be like at either of the foul poles?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but-
Yeah,
buy
so
your
I can't
ticket.
imagine those are great seats.
no, like I think the way it sets up is like you're at the ends of your stands down the third and first baseline,
Mhm.
like at the very end of those, that is where the 50-yard line is. So the other half is unoccupied. I don't know.
It's odd.
The other Dave, we said this that we were going to go to the bowl game.
We can't afford to go.
But we can't. I mean, those tickets are hefty.
I mean, good for
Just
you that you can
getting there.
afford it.
Yeah, just getting there, it was like
that's
crazy.
the expensive part. The tickets actually aren't that bad, but
Right.
it's we did the math. It's going to cost just around $3,000 a head to go, and I know it's hard to believe for our listeners that we actually don't have that kind of money on this podcast to afford for.
Yeah, your super chat was not enough. We need more.
Yeah. No, you're good. Thanks, the other Dave. But yeah, we will not be there. So sorry, we can't help.
Yes,
We
will be in Kansas City though.
Hold on. I can give the other Dave an answer here. It's been 8 years. Where would I buy a ticket? Anywhere. Anywhere.
Behind home plate.
It might be another 8. I don't know. Take the opportunity while you get it. Go to the damn game. Buy a seat. Just go have
He's
fun.
already going.
Well, okay. Do we have any others that you want to point out there, Kyle?
Eric says, "Hey boys, happy holidays from one of your faithful listeners. Hope the Huskers get the W on Saturday and keep the momentum going into the offseason." So we could probably touch on the bowl game a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So Nebraska is playing Boston College, and there's a lot of people out there who are just kind of like indifferent to this game, and I think maybe Oklahoma fans are maybe the same way. 6-6. Just very meh, right? Does the bowl game matter? Doesn't even matter if they win. And like, here's what I know. If they lose, I'll be pissed.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, if you ask me if it matters, then yeah, because if they lose, I'm going to be really mad, and I'm going to be on my not fire rule train. Okay, I'm not saying that, but I will be very mad.
We're still Timmer. All right now.
You're timmering.
Timmer's at a 6. That's our trust in Matt Rule scale. It's still at a 6 right now.
It's just like any fans out there that are just like ambivalent towards this game are just like, meh. We are in no position, Nebraska football fans, to be picky about what games we care about and which ones we don't.
They all matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like at this point in the year for the last 7-8 years, our season was over. So this is just bonus for me. And realistically, the way that I look at these bowl games now are different than how I used to look at them. This is really just like, hey, get the guys on the field that are going to be playing in 2025. Yeah. And let's get them going. This is basically, and Matt Rule said this in one of his press conferences. He's like, hey, look, this is not the end of the 2024 season. This is the start of the 2025 season. So get your guys out there, get them some reps. Let's start working on this stuff. You've now got extra practices with Dana Holgorsen. Start putting this stuff into play. Like, this is the start of your 2025 season, so act like it. And that's what I'm excited about.
Do you guys want to hate me for a moment?
Oh, boy.
A moment.
A moment. I always hate you.
Yeah, that's fair. Every single Monday. I do believe Nebraska will win. I do.
Nice.
I did bet Boston College for one specific reason. No matter what happens.
You like losing money?
No matter what happens, I win. Either I'm winning money and I'm sad, or that $20 that I put in on Boston College, I'd pay $100 to watch Nebraska win. Hell, I might pay $1,000, maybe not $1,000.
But not 3,000 because we couldn't
not
afford
three.
that.
If I could pay 3,000, I'd be at the game. But no, I did bet Boston College. I don't think Boston College is as bad as a lot of people think they are. I think they are a very talented team. We've seen some funkiness with their team in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of key losses there. I do think Nebraska wins. I don't know if they cover though, because it was 5.5 last I saw it. And I think this might be like a 3 or 4 point game.
Okay.
And look, Bill O'Brien. You think he's not going to have those dudes ready?
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Well, I mean,
Is Bill
it's two
O'Brien-
NFL coaches. Come on now.
Is Bill O'Brien, Parker, maybe you can shed some light on this. Is Bill O'Brien a better in-game coach than Matt Rule is?
Yes.
I mean, I'm willing to bet he probably is. I don't know if you know enough about that whole thing.
Do you have any opinion on this football game? I know you don't cover Nebraska. You don't cover Boston College. I don't know how often you have time to watch either of them play football, but do you have any sort of opinion on this game?
So I keep up with the Huskers, and I keep up with a lot of the guys that I covered because I have gotten to cover some really good OU Nebraska recruiting battles in recent years. There have been quite a few.
Yeah, there have.
Surprisingly enough.
That left tackle still haunts me to this day.
No, come on.
Transfer from Stanford.
I know.
Oh, Walter Rouse. There you go.
Walter Rouse.
A lot of them have been offensive linemen. Turner Corcoran back in the day.
Yeah. Kansas kid.
Grant Bricks very recently.
Yeah, we brought up the the truck and got him. So
Yeah,
fine.
Literally.
love that kid. One of my favorites I've ever covered. I know he's not around anymore, but Malachi Coleman is up there too.
Mhm.
Awesome dude.
He could have been in
Awesome,
Oklahoma.
dude.
He's still available.
I know.
Technically,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. Believe me. That the fact that that's not a call Oklahoma's made yet, I can't make heads or tails of that.
Mm.
But yeah, one guy that I would love to see quite a bit of in the bowl game because I have been so high on him for so long, since long before he was on the national radar. Carter Nelson.
Yes.
Okay.
Big on Carter Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, he had some flashes early in the season,
Mhm.
and then we just kind of never really saw him again. So,
And now that Barker's gone,
yeah,
Yeah, I think maybe they finally slide him into the tight end role because right now
Maybe.
he's playing wide receiver at Nebraska because he doesn't have enough weight to play tight end.
You want to know the Borkature transfer portal story?
yes,
That'd be fun.
We would love to.
He took less money to go to Texas A&M instead of Oklahoma.
And that's because
That's
he didn't
where-
want to play with Coach Satterfield anymore, huh?
Well, no, he said then Oklahoma.
Wait,
not
yeah,
Nebraska.
then Oklahoma?
He took less
Oklahoma
money.
wanted him.
He
Yeah,
took
so,
less money for A&M than
As I
Oklahoma.
understand it, Oklahoma offered him the most money,
Hmm.
and he chose to go to Texas A&M.
Is there?
Wait.
You know what? Texas Trev, baby.
So I'll take you behind the curtain for a second. Oklahoma fans are not very thrilled with their tight ends coach right now.
Ah.
Okay.
They are of the opinion that he is the liability on staff, and obviously that whole saga did not do anything to help that perception.
There is a guy from, I guess maybe from his high school or something like that, is working for Trev at Texas A&M too, who
There
played
you
a
go.
big role in bringing him over there.
don't forget the Yell Squad.
That was actually it.
He wants to be a part of the Yell Squad. Good for
That was
him.
it. Yeah, that was it. Hey, shout out to the Aurora kid, right?
It was so hard. I told you guys just before
All right,
the episode
Nate.
started.
Cool, Nate.
Just before the episode started, I was talking with an A&M fan at Nebraska Brewing Company, and it was so hard. And he's like, "You Nebraska fans hate A&M." I said, "Yeah, you're like second on my totem pole in Texas. Like it's always horns down. That's number one all the time." But he's like, "So what do you hate about A&M?" And I wanted to be first of all, Yell Squad. What is that?
Yeah.
What is that? It's so weird. Second, your fans suck. But it was just so odd that he's like, I don't get why
What?
people dislike A&M.
What do we not like about A&M? Well,
Everything.
y'all are freaks, first of all.
Yeah.
You act like you done something. You put up fake. God dang, here we go.
Did
You put up fake years for natties on your stadium.
Did you guys see the whole their fan base went nuts about Nebraska and being like, "Oh, your sellouts are fake. Like your crowd atmospheres don't impact the game." It's like you literally say you're the home of the 12th man. That's what you call yourself.
It's rich coming
Like
from
you
them.
don't get to say this when you do the same damn thing. It's just we don't have a Yell Squad.
Not yet.
Oh,
we
man.
could be.
I don't want.
What if
that.
we all were the Yell Squad?
Okay, if it was us four, I would do it.
Kyle in booty shorts.
Yeah, get me in there.
Spanking himself.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into like predictions and stuff, so just real quick, Oklahoma's playing Navy.
Yeah.
And just as someone who I guess I'm a connoisseur, I'm gonna call myself a connoisseur. That's right.
Connor
Shut up.
Flora.
Connoisseur of what?
Military Academy football. I love it.
Says the Army fan.
I love it.
Go Navy.
I'm triple option guy. Okay. The next coach that Nebraska hires needs to be a triple option guy. That's right. I said it. I don't
It's
care.
so such a bad
You've
take.
said it every week for like 3 years.
Yeah, it's still such a bad take.
And I still stand by it. Get into what Oklahoma like. Does Oklahoma want to play these guys?
The guys that are still around, they absolutely want to play Navy. But that's the thing. It's so hard to gauge what happens in these bowl games nowadays
I know.
because every single roster is decimated. Yeah.
I know.
If you're not playing in the college football playoff, and even if you are in some cases, you're going into the game, you're going into your postseason game with a large chunk of your roster unavailable.
And like just some random coaches too in some cases.
Are they going to move that window? The portal window?
I hope so, man.
Like, do you have any insight on that? Does Rivals have any insight on? Are they going to move this window so that teams can actually still
Nobody
have their
knows
roster in the off season?
So I guess I have a real question.
Okay.
Oklahoma
not a real question.
It is, but not one that anyone has an
we have
answer
a
to.
real question, Mike.
No one has an answer to that. Does Navy have an innate advantage against Oklahoma in this bowl game because of the continuity of these players being at a service academy?
Yes. If there is an advantage to be had that you can quantify, that would be it for Navy. Oklahoma obviously has better athletes. I mean,
Yes.
that's not going to be a new thing to a service academy because they're generally out athleted against anybody, but they thrive on their system, antiquated as it may be, and
No.
and executing it well. And they generally do. So this game's going to go one of either two ways. Either Oklahoma is just going to come out and blow the doors off because they're going to hit a couple deep shots right off the bat, put Navy in a hole. And obviously that's not the type of program that's engineered to play from behind.
Right.
Or, and I'll go back to Oklahoma Army in 2018. Great example of this phenomenon. If you let a program like that control the pace of the game, you let them take the fight to you and you're reacting to what they're doing instead of vice versa, that's where things start to get really scary. So it'll either be a 48-7 game in favor of Oklahoma or Navy will wind up winning 21-14.
I'm just glad, and I know I said we can't be picky about like who we choose to play and wins that we pick or care about, whatever. I'm glad Nebraska's not playing Navy or Army. And doesn't that just say something? That teams don't want to play these kinds of guys, right? Army, Navy guys.
Well, and they're good
Come
this
on.
year. Like
They are. They're 11-1.
That is, like, it's a good team.
CFP,
Like in the
Navy-
past,
CFP.
Navy's got
Yeah.
9.
Oh, come on, CFP.
Oh, they're only 9-3.
Yeah, Navy's got 9.
I don't know why I was
They
thinking
got their
11-1.
9th against Army. Army
There
was
you go.
11-1 in the Army Navy game.
yeah,
Gotcha.
but the game doesn't count. Did you see that? Like, if you look at the standings,
doesn't
whatever,
count
like
to
it
the
didn't,
record?
it didn't count on their record or something. Maybe it was just like outdated. But yeah, I looked at something on the ESPN standings.
Oh, it counts.
I wonder.
And it didn't count on
It's
the record.
because most people don't consider Army to be a real team.
That's crazy. Like
Ha!
you're
Go
so,
Navy, baby!
You're so weird. Like you're an A&M fan.
Yeah.
That is
You're
not true.
goofy.
All right, let's do scoring predictions.
Okay. You want to start? Do you have a score in mind?
24-23 Nebraska. I think-
24-23.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a sloppy game. A lot of players that don't normally play are going to play. And I don't know why I'm picking Nebraska to win, but that's what I think is going to happen.
So you said 24-23.
Quarterback advantage. That's why.
There you go.
Are we talking, is Nebraska, do they score a last minute touchdown? Are we talking field goal? Like what do we?
I don't know how it happens. I really don't. That's the number that came in my head. That's why I yelled it.
24-23. Okay.
Yeah.
Connor.
Yell squad.
Yell squad.
Yell squad. So Boston College, this QB that they've got has only been running this offense for I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks now. The first stringer is in the portal. Kid's good.
He got benched though. The first stringer did get benched for him. So
Correct. And the first stringer is now in the portal.
yes.
So this kid hasn't been running the offense super long. I might have undershot it at 3 or 4 weeks, but I think that's about it. He's a good QB. I do think Nebraska's speed on the outside is a massive advantage. I have this at 24-21 Nebraska.
Speed on the outside, you say?
As receivers.
Talking Jalen Lloyd action?
Yeah.
Do we see some Jalen Lloyd? Finally!
I would like to.
Ja'Cory Barney, maybe.
Ooh.
You're gonna see a lot of Ja'Cory Barney. He didn't stick around for no reason. KB,
Yeah.
what you got?
You have to repay him for not freaking leaving your program. Hey, Ja'Cory, here's the ball. Here's the ball again. Here's the ball. Here's the ball. Here's the ball.
I don't know.
You got to throw out numbers.
Let's go.
Be weird.
Be weird.
Okay. Let's go 28-26. Nebraska.
That is
Dang.
weird.
Bob, do you have
Oh.
one? Just because you're here, you might as well contribute.
I want to stick Nebraska, so let's go. I think either team would be hard pressed to score more than 30. So you guys are in the right neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, he's in
I
the
agree.
same neighborhood, but he picked Nebraska.
You guys are so conservative, and I get it because watching the past decade of Nebraska football has no
It's gonna
doubt
be a
scarred
close
you.
win or loss, yeah.
But I will be the sunshine pumper if none of you guys want to be. I think Nebraska wins this game by multiple possessions. So that's where I'm at. Because the quarterback thing, like
yeah.
Dylan Raiola over whoever that is that Boston College is trotting out there, that matters. And I just think in an overall sense, Nebraska is going to have much better athletes out there on the field than Boston College. I would say give me 31-13 Nebraska.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
That's a good day.
Hey,
I
man.
swear, if I have to give my trophy to him,
Yeah.
Right.
And we have to mail it.
we have a trophy.
Oh, yeah?
If you pick a score exactly, it's called the Best Score Guesser Guy Award.
Okay.
It is a plastic trophy that Kyle put some athletic tape on and wrote it in Sharpie.
Yep.
I have held the trophy for 2 years now because none of us have gotten one right since.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
If we get
Oh, boy.
31-13 and I have to give this,
actually.
I'll mail it to you.
I look forward to getting that FedEx shipment.
yeah.
No, he doesn't. People forget, to your point, Parker, Nebraska did score 44 on Wisconsin.
They
once.
did.
So I'm going to say 27-21 Nebraska.
Wow. Nebraska's all around.
Of course.
Of course. That only means one thing.
Boston College fans are going to be in our Menchies.
There's no Boston
Yeah,
College fans.
There's a few.
There's no fans.
Luke Kuechly is going to be in our Menchies.
He's not a fan.
I'm going to say Navy 7, Oklahoma 3.
Entirely plausible. Entirely plausible.
That's what I'm hoping for.
38-6 Oklahoma.
I have this as 28-24 Oklahoma.
It's a lot of points.
Ooh.
I'm going to go 35-17 Oklahoma.
I was very, very close to your prediction there. I would say 35-21.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of touchdowns. That tends to be how it is in games against service academies. You get a lot of touchdowns, not a lot of field goals. 35-21. All touchdowns.
All touchdowns.
Right on.
Fireworks.
Okay, Parker, before we let you go, tell the people where they can find you, whether they are Husker fans or Sooner fans or A&M fans, if you're weird.
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
Well, obviously, OUinsider.com is the Rivals affiliate for the University of Oklahoma. That is the site that I run, co-publisher of that site. I doubt you have any Sooner fans tuning in. But
one of my buddies is tuning in right now.
If you do have a Sooner fan tuning in that likes OU sports talk all day, every day, 365 days a year, as I mentioned earlier, I do the midday show for KREF down in Norman, 12 to 3 is when I'm on air. But we have live programming that is entirely OU-centric, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every weekday, year-round. So you can tap in via the KREF app on the App Store. And then you can follow me on Twitter. There's only one of me, so you will find me at Parker Thune. I make it very easy for everyone. No underscores or anything like that.
Underscores rivals. Cross out 24 rivals again.
At Parker Thune. That is where you can find me on Twitter. So that about covers it.
And somewhere in Middle America.
Dang right.
Okay. You want to know what's funny? My fiance never watches any of our shows, and I guarantee you she's watching right now. She's from Tulsa.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. I know she's watching right now because she this year actually finally switched. I converted to her Husker fan. And this year she was like, I'm going back to the Sooners. And at the end of the regular season, I said, that did you a whole lot of good, didn't it?
Yeah. Same amount of wins.
Yeah, but I know she's watching right now because I told her you were coming on. We're going to talk some Oklahoma football. So, Sam, I love you.
Hi, Samuel.
Suck it.
Suck it.
Not literally. It's metaphorical.
Oh, that's too bad for you.
Metaphorical.
Okay. NBNRpodcast.com, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those things, all the same handle, NBNR Podcast. All right, guys. Sign off.
Yep.
I'm one of your hosts, Jared Hall.
Mike Delaware.
Connor Cavalack.
Kyle Byers.
Oh, am I supposed to say my name? Parker Thune.
Sure.
There it is.
Thanks, folks.
And Parker's dad.
Hey, we love the surprise. That's why we do it.
We never warn anyone.
Shout out, Bob.
As always, beat Boston College.
And Hawaii
And-
tonight.
Yeah, beat Hawaii 9:30 tonight. Beat Oklahoma.
No.
All right, beat Navy. I guess. In GBR.
Is it 2030? They're playing again?